Another shubha, another misconception, is that they say that the basic principle upon which you treat a Muslim is that you treat him to be as if he is upon the Sunnah, that he is, Salim in his belief, and you operate on that basis, right? So when you interact with the Muslims, then you always assume this person is a person of the Sunnah, right? Because the asal is that you assume him to be upon adala, upon uprightness. This is incorrect. This is not true, not correct. This again is one of the misconceptions used by the people of bid'ah, from the Ikhwanis and others. And what is correct is, if you remember earlier, I mentioned 3 different pieces of information about a person, right? The first one is just his integrity, right? Is he righteous? Is he sinful? Does he commit major sins? Is he truthful? Is he dishonest? Does he tell lies? That's one element to do about his character. The second element is his ability to memorize, right? Is he accurate? Is he precise? Can he remember what he hears? Does he when he reads, can he accurately recall and relay what he's read? What's his ability in that regard? This is a second element of a person. And the third element is, what is he upon in terms of his creed and his methodology, right? Now, what these people are trying to say is that if you bump into any Muslim now in the 21st century, and even, for example, this would apply, well, I'll show you why this is false. What they are saying is, we have to automatically assume that this person is a Sunni, Salafi, upon the truth, upon the right creed, because this is the asal of what we assume about this person. And this is evidently false. It's false for the same 2 reasons that the Shaykh mentioned for the other shubha, which is, first of all, textual evidence falsifies this. And secondly, the actual reality falsifies this as well. Right? What's the textual evidence? The Messenger of Allah, he mentioned how this ummah is going to split into many, many different sects. And he spoke about, the Qadariyah, and he spoke about the Khawarij, and he spoke about people who will come, like he mentioned in this hadith. This now is textual evidence that if the ummah is going to split, and there are going to be people upon different creeds and orientations, then how can the basic principle be that we assume everybody is somehow upon the Sunnah and the way of the Sunnah? This is not true by textual evidence. And secondly, by actual reality. We meet and bump into people all the time. We meet a person who comes and says to you, I believe Allah is everywhere. And another person comes and says to you, well, everybody in the whole world is a disbeliever, right? Is a kafir apart from me and my band of followers, And so you meet people like this who have all sorts of different creeds, different orientations. How can you assume, therefore, now, that we assume these people to be upon, let alone the Sunnah, even Tawheed itself? Because many parts of the Muslim world, there are people who are engaged in actual shirk, in worshipping others besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So from these 2 angles, this evidently cannot be true. That you somehow assume any Muslim you bump into, somehow you have to assume that he's a Sunni and Salafi, if you don't already know him. So this can't be correct. What is correct is that when you first bump into a Muslim, you cannot accuse a Muslim of being a major sinner, because you have no knowledge of that, right? So from that angle, you have to assume that he has uprightness from the aspect of like individual, uprightness and integrity. Why? Because you have no knowledge otherwise at that point in time, right? If I come across a Muslim I've never met before and I say Assalamu alaikum or whatever, I have to assume that this man, because I don't have this knowledge that he's someone who drinks or gambles or fornicates or does whatever. I have no knowledge. So I have to assume that he is upright in his, in that aspect of adala, this bit is correct. This part is correct, right? So the correct thing would be to say that you assume that a Muslim is upright, meaning in his religion in the sense of individual conduct, and you can't assume that this man is sinful, a major sinner, because you have no knowledge of that. You've only just met him, and you don't know the realities of other Muslims. You can't assume that, right? This part is correct. Thereafter, having said that, you now cannot say this man is also truthful, because you have no knowledge. You have no knowledge of that either, right? So just like you have no knowledge of major sins, you likewise also have no knowledge as to whether this man is truthful and honest, because you have no direct experience. But you assume that a person is going to be honest and truthful because you don't know otherwise. But you cannot make that judgment that that person is actually honest and truthful, because that only comes through experience and learning of his affair through interaction and through other people, right? So that's that part of it. Ability to memorize, well, you don't know because you haven't interacted with this person. Is he reliable in the way he conveys information or not? We don't know. As for the third one, which is he upon Islam and the Sunnah and, Afwan, is he upon the Sunnah? Obviously, we assume he's upon Islam, but is he upon Sunnah, Salafiyah, or whatever? We don't know. We can't pass that judgment because we don't know. We will only know when he starts speaking. Right? We'll only know when he starts mentioning who he takes knowledge from, who he thinks to be the scholars. When we look at him, how he prays, for example, how is he praying? We learn a lot about whether he's praying in accordance with the Sunnah or not. This is based upon additional knowledge which has to come to us about this person before we start making the actual judgment that this person has adala with all of these different meanings, right? Adala in terms of freedom from major sin, adala in terms of memorization, precision, and adala in terms of, okay, what are you upon in terms of your creed and methodology, right? So this is another incorrect, principle which is spread nowadays by certain people.